It is very nice to greet you again. In today's video we will talk about the following. How to know when you're in a toxic relationship. Toxicity, this can exist in any human relationship, but a toxic romantic relationship can cause deep-seated psychological damage. Toxic relationships are not a relationship that falls into a rut or is going through a rough patch, but rather when one or both parties in the relationship have an actively malign influence on it and, consciously or unconsciously, make the relationships a harmful environment. 1. Here are some examples of behavior in toxic relationships. You are not happy when you are around him or her. You feel nervous or apprehensive in her presence. Codependency. He feels more like an opponent than someone on your side. It affects your self-esteem. The responsibility for change and commitment always falls on you. You fight constantly, or, even worse, you don't fight at all because it seems pointless to you. Verbal or physical abuse. These are just a few examples, but there are many more. The fundamentals of a toxic relationship and its meaning is that they do not bring out the best in you. 2. Detect toxic behavior early. Here I talk to you about toxic signs and behaviors in relationships that are easy to detect. They are manipulative and use these tactics to cross your boundaries. Your partner constantly criticizes you. There are signs of emotional affairs. They tend to be passive-aggressive. They are very controlling of your behavior and check it frequently. Bullies in a toxic relationship encourage you to accept certain falsehoods in the relationship as if you were the problem. There is a visible pattern of dishonesty on their part. 3. What a toxic relationship does to your health and your love life. It is incredibly important not to underestimate the very real impact that toxic relationships have not only on our psychological health but can even manifest physically. Psychologically, it can reduce your sense of self-worth, making us more likely to accept the behavior you are being subjected to, as well as erode other healthy relationships in your life, either through distractions or through coercive control, further isolating you. Physically, it has been linked to depression and reduced sleep quality, causing constant fatigue, poor hygiene standards, and even digestive problems. 4. Signs of a toxic relationship that are easy to identify. We've gone over some signs and examples of a toxic relationship and how to identify one arising in yours. However, since relationship toxicity can be a slow, pernicious influence that only takes hold later in the relationship, here are some surefire signs of a toxic relationship or one that is becoming one. Everything is a test. Innocuous questions and prompts are often used to start a discussion in favor of more control, such as suggesting that you enjoy talking to someone too much during a group event or asking a leading question, such as a romantic hypothesis. They act lightly about fidelity. Instead, he uses cheating like a sword hanging over your head, either by leaving obvious signs of emotional affairs or by displaying one on his phone or computer to let you know he has a romantic demand or even tell you about how replaceable you are. Trust is the backbone of a healthy relationship. You can't weather the bad times. When things go wrong, is he the first person you think to call, or is he more of a family member or friend? Or worse yet, do you have the idea that calling him would make the situation worse? That even the smallest obstacles fracture the idea that your relationship is a team effort. Your problems are never solved. You certainly fight and argue, but afterward, you simply revert to your old behaviors. And if anyone is going to give in, it's usually you. Oddly enough, toxic people are disproportionately satisfied in toxic relationships on their own terms. You are constantly under stress. When we are in a toxic relationship, particularly romantic, it tends to slowly undermine our self-esteem and mental health, eventually creating a perpetual feeling of discomfort and anxiety. Relationships are meant to be work, but not all-consuming work. 5. Free yourself from toxicity. Surprisingly, some experts agree that toxic relationships can go off the rails again, but both people must be fully committed to healing them, which is rare. Sometimes the only way to fix it is to get out so you don't end up feeling like all love is toxic. The first test you can do to see if a toxic relationship has a solution is to try to open the lines of communication and make them more authentic than confrontational. But both of you must come to the table and talk. If a significant amount of time and effort has been invested in the relationship, you may want to keep it. A couples therapist or personal psychologist can help you get an incredibly informed assessment of what aspects of your relationship are evil, what can be saved, and a roadmap to follow. You are an essential part of what we do on this channel. For this reason, we keep an eye on what you need, and if it is your desire to recover your ex correctly and effectively, you must click on the link below.